Very good evening. This is Parimal Vasada on behalf of Ahmedabad Management Association, welcoming you all to rather an interesting demystifying session, artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? Probably all of us know and may not know. So, when I was looking at it, I could find that it is the machine intelligence which is mimicking the intelligence properties of the human brain, and it goes beyond that. There are many areas in artificial intelligence like a human, because it is not a machine, because it also involves processing and many more things. So we thought, how can we enlighten ourselves more, and in that context we had none other than Mr. Ravi Rathod. When I was, looking, I came here, so I thought I am a management guy with a, blazer and a tie and all that. He is an IT guy, a T-shirt and a beard and all this. So there is the mixing of the IT and management. So that's how about it. Mr. Ravi is, I think you belong to Gujarat as well? Yeah. Okay. Your parents belong to Gujarat, so he is a Gujarati that way. So that's I think let's have a round of applause. He is again, all of us are proud of. He's a luminary, or I call it halogens of the Indian IT industry somewhere in the US, focusing over the world. So we are all proud of you and the guys like you. So that's how it. He worked with CMS Computers Bombay, RX Industries Ahmedabad, GE Hyderabad, and Oracle Oracle India Bangalore, and Oracle headquarters in California. He is currently working as Director, Oracle Applications Lab, Oracle America, and managing global application development team based in USA, Mexico, UK, Hungary, and India, and leading architecture, collaboration, automation, B2B, and other all areas of the IT things. Oracle, as we all know, probably when I started knowing about the computer, I started knowing about Oracle. It was incorporated in 1977 somewhere, I think, and it is as the last data, is the second largest computer or software agency in the world after Microsoft. So here is we have Mr. Ravi on behalf of all of us. I welcome you, Mr. Ravi.
Thank
And
you.
it is a mystifying word, for at least for me, and I think most of us. And here is Mr. Rathod, who will be demystifying the walks about the future. Thank you. Please.
Thank you, Parimalji, for the good introduction, and thank you everybody coming on the weekday specifically. And I know it's a very traffic in Ahmedabad, yeah, and it's good. And it's really honor to be there on the AMS stage. Specifically, AMS is the best professional management organization in Ahmedabad. And Ahmedabad, like it's a capital of Gujarat, and it's known for the entrepreneurship. Like everybody here has lots of entrepreneurship culture comes from the Ahmedabad. So it's really honor, and specifically on this stage to have this session, right? So, and so before go to the session, I would like to understand how is the audience and all, right? And I see there are lots of professionals, there are lots of students, so want to know, raise your hand if you are students, any engineering or MBA or anything. Okay, we have quite few students. Okay, raise your hand if you are a professional, IT professional, like you are associated with any programming or the IT system. Okay, we have quite few. And raise your hand, you have any business or like a company, or you're non-IT person. Okay, quite few. So we have really 30, like 1/3 of each, right? So we have very mixed crowd, and good to know that all kind of people are attending this session, and it's really privileged to have that. So I will try to be talk on all the angles and see how it can simplify some of the AI stuff for you. So what we going through this one is basically we'll go through the what is the AI overview, right, and how is the evolution of AI landscape, right, and we'll go how the machine learning, deep learning works. So these are very much word you came across the in the industry or the reading. We'll talk about the robotics, how AI is really driving the robotics. That's the next era. And we'll discuss about what are the Silicon Valley trends, what's going on in the valley, specifically where I belong. I work there itself and I associate with various startups and the various groups there. And so we'll discuss then the various use cases of AI, right? What will be the good use cases for enterprise? Oh, front lights, okay. Can you turn the front lights off? Is it? No, this light. Okay, that's good. Is it clear? Little bit? There are few empty seats are here if you want to come. Okay. So we'll talk about the use cases of AI, specifically the enterprise, what are the, for startups, students, and citizen scientists, right? And that all we will cover in a 1 hour. And I'm not going to teach about the various algorithm here because each algorithm takes more than a week or it takes really few days to go over. So we'll discuss about the more about the technology, and we'll try to have more interesting Q&A session after that about various use cases which you came across or what are the question and answer you guys have, so we can go over that, right? Is that okay? Okay, good. So, so what is the artificial intelligence, right? So this word is very old word. It's not something new word which is come, right? And I think Parimalji explained very well, right? It is something, the intelligence what the human has, right? Which is what are the intelligence what the human has, and machines try to do that intelligence, and that's what the artificial intelligence, right? So let me see what the intelligence says. The intelligence is nothing but the ability to perceive the information, retain the knowledge, and have adaptive behavior within an environment to context, right? And the artificial intelligence is nothing but the computer system, right? The computer system who can perform these tasks, right? Which are similar to human, and like visual perception, speech recognition, decision making, and translate between the language. So it's basically mimicking the human behavior, right? That's what the artificial intelligence is there. And to broader umbrella, right, we will discuss more on that actually, but what we're discussing here is basically the 3 aspects of this artificial intelligence. Like the artificial intelligence now involves lots of machine learning, and the machine learning is nothing but the part of the artificial intelligence, and the deep learning, which is the subset of the machine learning, right? So the machine learning is basically, it involves lots of algorithm whose performance improves, right, over the time how its data goes. And the deep learning is mostly a neural network, right? We will have a few more slides which talk about the difference between machine learning and deep learning. And the data science is a key aspect in the artificial intelligence. Like, is the whole foundation of artificial intelligence is based on the data science. How you understand the data, how you analyze the data, how you predict the data, right? So that is a very key part of the artificial intelligence, right? And so we see this artificial intelligence in day-to-day life, right? So we'll discuss all these three steps in the more details in upcoming slides. So why this artificial intelligence is coming right now? Why it was not there? I mean, why it was there, that was not so much powerful. Why it is coming right now with very aggressive? And the reason behind is that evolution, the evolution of the various technology which has made this artificial intelligence as a very strong case. And you might not have noticed that technology in your day-to-day life, right? Because they are hidden somewhere in the back end or back system. So as you guys see that, I have my laptop and I'm really controlling my system with my fingers. And I don't have Apple Watch or anything, but if I touch it, so it automatically moves the next slide, right? Now how that thing's working? Do you see where any AI-driven stuff here, right? So it's a magic, how that magic is happening, right? So it's because there are the lots of AI stuff built into the devices, and the devices, where they are very small, right? And somewhere it's hidden in the context. So I'm wearing a wearable belt, which basically measures my muscle movement, and automatically it's tuned that I can tune it to the way, like what are my finger movement, I can move to the next slide, right? So that's what I do, and this is what the hidden on the, and this is coming in the, like, this technology is not new, right? It is there for 4 or 5 years, right, on the front, but it is very much hidden. So you using lots of technology which is truly hidden, like using Google. Google does very good machine learning, right? The Facebook, there are lots of companies who does machine learning, like you go on Amazon, right? The product suggestion is based on the machine learning, but it is hidden. It's all AI driven, right? So we'll discuss about, let's say, why this is coming right now. So one of the most important aspect what we see is the computing. The computing has tremendously, the computing power has tremendously increased. Earlier it was CPU. Now it is a like very much application specific integration circuit, like specific application related the circuit. Okay. Am I audible till the last? Okay. Now the next to CPU is the GPU, like a graphics processing unit. So what it means that there are thousands of processors which combine and have one single chip, like a GPU chip. And that is now really powering the artificial intelligence, right? The majority of AI work is really driven into the GPU. Then there is a tensor processing unit, which is very much what if you're using a TensorFlow and deep learning based algorithm, you probably have specific hardware that is nothing but the TPU, right? So all this computing power has tremendously increased. It's not like 10 times, or it is exponentially increasing over day by day, right? So that is one of the fundamental change what we see in this decade, which has really make the artificial intelligence to the very much next stage. And the next one is software engineering. The software engineering is basically, there is lots of change happen in engineering, the way you design the softwares, right? There are the new programs, like new programming languages, there are the new programs, and their libraries are really there in the internet, and this basically is enabling, is basically enabling the machine learning. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel again and again, right? So there are already library available, use it, and you can proceed to your solutions. Then the third is basically big data processing, right? So this is a very key factor which is really adding to machine learning, is like now we have really lots of data, like the speech data, audio data, video data, sensors data, right? All this data, and we have a ability to really process that data, which was not there in last decade, right, or earlier, right? Now, with the new cloud emerging, cloud technologies are emerging, this data processing has become very easy. Not only easy, you have very much API available for all this processing of the data, right? So the next one is really driving is the internet speed. Earlier we used to have 3G, now 4G, now fiber, 5G. The internet speed has tremendously increased over the time. You have seen the really the impact, right? Now everybody has a mobile with a 3G or 4G speed, right? And now in future also it will going on a 5G where you really get a 10 Mbps speed on your mobile or the same on your device. So it's a very high speed. And the moment it happens, it will basically revolutionize what your imagination ideas and what you can basically develop, right? It will challenge your imagination to what you can develop. So this is the various factor which is really making the AI, right? So it need to understand if you want to go in AI, so these are the various things it has to taken care on that. So the next one is what are the platforms. Various platforms came up, right? So various software platforms came up. Like there is a Docker containerization, right? I mean, these are various cloud technology. I will not go more detail, but I want to just to mention that the various softwares, they are really built with the next generation cloud and specific to the AI, various algorithms. Like there are the serverless. Serverless is basically what you can say. Currently, we run the majority of servers, which is when you basically start the server and use it, right? And even you don't have a, let's say, transaction, or you are not using, the servers are up. It's really using your hardware, right? Specifically like a big companies, it's a very big wastage of the resource as well as the money. So now with the serverless, is the technology is coming in the way that whenever there is an actual transaction or there is an actual initiation, right, of the process, or whenever the user click, at that time the server can initiate and use the hardware resources, right, so that the hardware resources are perfectly utilized, right. So that's lots of that technology coming up on that front. Then there is a user experience. If you see that various kind of experience, now most of the user need on mobile or IoT device. IoT is nothing but Internet of Things. Internet of Things means the devices of the electronic device now have a capability to connect the internet or connect to the network, right? So that is a new era is coming with the AI, which was not, I mean, which was there earlier, but with the speed of the internet, right? Now you have very good speed. Now you can have a device, like any device, like what I have, wearable belt or the phone or the smart speaker. You can really get a very high speed internet to there. And not only high speed internet, you can get the very high computing infrastructure to there, right? So that device can have intelligent ability to really do the machine learning processes, machine learning application on that device. So if you have seen in recent phones, right, your fingerprint or the face recognition, it's all the example which is really driving to the AI, right? So that is all that happening because of the computing and the IoT stuff behind that. Then there is a lots of data, which is the key factor in all this AI system. So now there are various organs like US government, they publish their lots of data onto their sites. Even the Indian government is trying. So every civic body or the any government organization, they are trying to see how they want to improve. So they put their data onto the internet with a little bit of scrambling. So it's not releasing the privacy part that, right? So there are lots of, like there is a lots of public data available, tweeters, right? So what's trending right now, what's not trending. There are lots of things moving on to the various social sites. and which you can really use that front. So I think there are lots of companies like investment banking or the companies who basically do the stock trading, right? Algorithmically or programmatically, they really have this kind of feeds which will really decides where to basically invest that one. And there are lots of instances happens on that also. So there is a lots of data which is now available within enterprise and also out of enterprise. So earlier, most of the applications what we used to write is just in the sense like we used to always concentrate on within the organization. Now it's not the way. Now it's a way that you have to take the external data and also you can use it for your machine learning algorithms, right? And the last one is that in order to AI to be more popularized, there are the lots of sites which basically provide the education. So they're building these skills in the market, and that basically the skills is growing, right? So Coursera is there, Udacity is there, edX is there, and Udemy is there. So all this technology evolution is really driving the AI, right? So AI is not a one single innovation. It's really behind that is all various different components of these technologies are driving this AI, right? And that's what the fundamental change happened in the computer industry. Earlier, every programmer used to do in the sense like even I used to do when I started my career is like you program, you basically provide the set of instruction. Okay, here is the step, next step, right? And that's what the most of the programmers does. But with this new machine learning and AI, that's not the case. The case with the machine learning is you basically learning from the data. You basically handling the tremendous amount of the different use cases and the data. So how is the machine learning works, right? Really, the considering. So here is the one life cycle about how the machine learning works, right? The first is basically you define. So the most of the first part is involved in a machine learning is nothing but the gathering the data, right? And machine learning use cases normally needs not a small data, but you need at least some thousands of record or more than that, right? So which you can basically handle lots of use case with that. The first part is basically you gather the data, right? So as this is pure slide for the guys who are programmer and they can understand better on that front. So the first part is basically to gather the data. So to gathering the data, you can have your OLTP application, what are the UI application developed within your enterprise, you can gather from that. You can gather from the public sources, right, which are available over the internet. I think most of the developer who don't know, there are lots of public sources data is available, and people are now really using that data to predict like the temperature, the weather, right? That basically even drive what quality of product manufacture on that day, right? So it's very interesting that the pattern are going in, right? So it's very important like how you basically take the different sets of data, right? And this is a fundamental change what compared to the earlier, like you basically collecting the data or various input data which is really making the decision from the different sources, right? So there are various technology like database, HBase, Kafka, and these are all different tools and all there, right? Now taking this data involves huge number of cleaning and processing. So machine learning is not that easy in the starting. So there is a lots of data work involved in like you take the data, you clean it, you structure it, right, which are the nuances are there, you clear it, right? So there is a lots of work which is done into the data cleaning, and there are tools like Spark or MapReduce, right? And these are the tools which are used to clean that data. Then the third part involves that is nothing but the data analysis, And this is the most important part before the machine learning start. I mean, it's actual machine learning starts. So you need to understand the various different dimensions or angles of data, right? And it's not generally done in an Excel sheet, right? You need to have sophisticated tool which can show the different angles like bubble chart or the different kind of chart where you see the different data, correlate it, and different patterns, what you basically see. And so data analysis and data visualization are nothing but the foundations for your machine building, machine learning model. So that's very much important, which is done by the various data scientists. The data scientists who have the knowledge of functional and who understand the various data and their angles and correlations. So that basically does by the data scientists. So there is a one part which is first involved to gathering the data, cleaning the data, and the visualizing the data. So that's all part comes into the planning. Now the next important part which comes around is the training the model and the fine tuning the model, right? So there are lots of APIs available on that data. So what does the model means, right? The model is basically normally have some algorithm behind it, right? So you have like say like thousands or the millions of data, and when you basically graph it in a bubble or let's say pie chart or different charts, you basically need to find out what basically a model or what basically mathematical algorithm fits to that, right? So that's basically that algorithm is basically governed by a model, right? So model is nothing but you ultimately writing the mathematical algorithm behind the scene, right? And based on whatever your data patterns, you basically writing that algorithm here. And to writing that algorithm, so there are the APIs available. It's like the Keras is a very popular API we use, and lots of people use that one. And the TensorFlow is also very popular by Google. So you basically build the model to correlate the data and have one algorithm. And that algorithm basically you fine tune with the your testing data. So what you basically, the way the machine learning start is that the first you collect the data, do the data analysis, and you start building the various charts and the various graphs, and then you start writing the model. What model will suit this? Whether it's a linear, like there are various algorithms, right? So which algorithm fits it, and you try to mix that all algorithm and see what's basically perfect algorithm is there, right? And then when you're writing algorithm, you're basically using a training data set. So what are the data, input data you're using, that's basically you using the training data set, right? And once you deploy that algorithm or the model, the program, then you basically run that model with the testing data set, and then you fine tune that algorithm. And then once you test that model, then you basically push to the production, like the production IT system, right? Now this model, whatever we see, is in the sense that they have a ability to whatever the new input came, it automatically will tune that model and automatically tune that algorithm the way the input comes, right? So this is the very key factor of what when we do with the machine learning and with the normal programming, is that normal programming is basically you set up instruction, you put the recipe and execute it, right? And in machine learning, the program you have wrote in a such way that it basically learns by itself, right? It learns the new use cases, and it basically changes it, and it can be it changes and gives the fine output on that one. So here is the some of the there are the various different algorithm used, and as we have shown that there is a machine learning and the deep learning, right? So the difference between machine learning and deep learning, the deep learning, there are you using the neural network. So there are the multiple layers and layers of feature extraction or the classification there before it gives the response. So that's a fundamental difference between the machine learning. So what the feature extraction is there? So let's say there is a one input here. You can see there is a dog, right? Now what it does, the system what it does, it basically records each pixel by pixel, right? And each pixel, what it does, so there are like how many millions of pixels on the front, right? When you see the dog. So behind that, what it takes each pixel and try to find out the various features, right? So then the first level features is like what are the lines are there, right? Then by the lines, the second level feature is like what are that it has ears, that is another feature. Whether another feature is whether it has a nose, right? Whether it has a tail, whether it has a leg. So these are numbers of features and features are there. So what it does is basically it extract the pixel information and it try to have the various functions which are the wrote, and in that is basically extract one feature and it move to the next level. And so if you have layers of this feature extraction, probable you will need to go with the deep learning. So earlier the machine learning was one layer, but now with the deep learning, you can really, scale up what are the errors was there. So you can really reduce that error. So accuracy was tremendously better in the deep learning. Right.
Like Google Lens is example of.
That's correct. Google Lens is an example of very much of these features so if you not seen, like you can have a camera and automatically identify the objects, right? And where it is there actually, right? So all that they basically using all this deep learning inside their algorithm. And with this deep learning, right? So that completely changed it is so powerful. Like if you understand earlier, there was a language translation, like let's say English to Hindi or Spanish, right? It was done using rules, right? Now with the deep learning, right, the accuracy is so powerful. Like I haven't seen in last year any translated any sentence and it came as a wrong, right? So, and the way the deep learning runs is that it doesn't understand any language word. It just understands what? The numbers. So what it does, every word it converts into whatever the binary numbers are there, and it understands the numbers relation, and it builds the algorithm based on that, right? So literally the whole translation was superb. It's not at all knowing what that word is there. Ultimately, it's doing all mathematical correlation, like, okay, if these numbers come, the next number will be that, and that logic is fully implemented, and you see the accuracy is superb. Like, that's the reason there are lots of translation services who have a better accuracy. Everybody use that deep learning algorithm. All right. So I think these are the oceans. It's not something like you will get into one day, right? It really takes what you can say, years to learn this aspect, unless you basically go through the problem and try out, right? Then you will basically learn this one. So it's a very, very broad subject actually, deep learning and the machine learning on that front. So these are the various popular algorithms which are used, right? The algorithms are the key behind all the machine learning, right? The reason the machine learning evolved is because of the algorithm. And all the algorithms are purely mathematical algorithm. Like, I don't know, you guys know, like the like integration, derivative, Fourier series or different. So all that stuff is very useful when you basically write the algorithm, right? And that's the reason one of the top job in the Valley is basically who has a very strong mathematical background and who can write this mathematical algorithm. So this is the good scope for the students where they want to enter, right? This is a very highly demanding area where your mathematical skills can really, you can enhance and it can be utilized and you can really move your career on that, right? So, linear regression, artificial neural networks. So neural networks are basically, that's where it's very popular on that front. And so the way it works is that which algorithm you use, it depends on the which kind of data you have, right? So what kind of you do the data analysis, right? Using what are the different tools, and that basically decide which algorithm to use, right? And so I will not go more on to details of the algorithm, right? It's a very technical and it's very mathematical stuff on that front, but if you guys interested, we can have a separate workshop or the session for the algorithms on the front. So where we see in AI, to see in our daily life, right? So let's go some of the use cases, what I thought. So you have not noticed, but this is really happening in each and every part of our life or our family's life. The AI is driving that, right? So let's say what the kids see the video, right? And whatever they see the video, they become interest. It's all driven by AI, right? It's behind there are some video company who is basically feeding, okay, see this, see this, see this, and they're building the interest itself, right? And this is really happening, that I meant to say. All the friend networking, who will be your friend, right? It's not your parents deciding. Even you are in the school, but nowadays with the people have lots of students having the phones, right? It is purely decided by the social networking sites who will be your next friend. You may not know, or your parents will not have control, but really this networking site are really driving that your friends networking. The same, the dating and the matchmaking, right? And this is the truth, right? Who will marry to whom? It's driven by AI. It's not by the person. And this is, even the person is making decision, but somewhere there is a AI technology who is making that decision. So it's really eye-opening. People who don't know the AI, but the AI is really,
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, very true. And I think the thing is, like, every technology has a plus and minus point, right? It's a dangerous in the, but the thing to understand that as well. It gives a good ability that you can connect to the right-minded people, right? How you use that.
How you use it.
How you use it. That's the most important stuff, right? And sometimes it's very cautious in the dangerous is like these companies have more intention that, hey, you should be on my platform and you should be driving and engaging, right? Right? Rather than to really, there are lots of social and ethics stuff. Let's say if you know the kids, what's is going. So parents would like, parents don't know, but let's say companies know. There is the same thing with all this networking and social. Like lots of things, even the user is not aware on that front. And there is the company has a more incentive to build their profit model, right? So they are more profit model rather they don't, they care about one, but I think there is a strict regulation need to be there. It has to must, right? And that's what it will be coming in the upcoming future. What are the government, like they will be having a strict rules about privacy and what they can do the data, right? So yeah, this is very alarming and cautious on that matter. So what do you buy the product, right? So till marriage is fine. After marriage, you buying something, right? That also driven by AI, right? And you can't believe it. People really don't search the Google. They just go on Amazon and see what I need to buy. Even they have no idea, right? And this is what really happening on the ground itself, right? The same, the movie recommendation, what you basically see, which movie you will see. You will go in Netflix or whatever the site, and this is purely driven by AI. AI is driving which movie you see. So really AI is controlling our lots of activities indirectly, which even we don't know. And we think that, oh, AI is coming. No, there is the AI machine learning stuff is really going in a background, which is a hidden. Just the way I have a wearable device is a hidden, right? So the same thing is a hidden behind the scene, actually. So even the flight prices are purely AI driven, so it changes by minute. And so there are new areas which is coming, which is good, like there is a personalized medicine, right? So in the sense, like every human body is very unique in that nature. It has its own DNA and it has its own ecosystem, right? So every medicine will not work for all the people. So there are lots of personalized medicine, the new research coming out. There is lots of oncology, rare disease diagnosis, which is really AI is helping out. There, by the scan, it can tell us whether the person has a cancer, and the accuracy of this AI is far better than the human. And this is recently lots of, I think last year, like Google, they published various papers on that, right? And it is very amazing that the kind of, let's say you do MRI or what are the scans, right? What the human interpretation or what are the human does the analysis and the way machine does, and machine does far better in most of all the cases. So it's very interesting, that new area. So definitely AI has a good footprint also, which can be useful too. And I mean, there will be tons of use case will be there. There are the like a good use case, bad use case, and the most important thing is what I see is it's mostly the user is not aware on the things what happening is. There is the behind the screen, everything going on to AI, and how that AI drives it. It need to understand that aspect. So there was one example which was very famous in 2012, right? There was one girl, and there was one company like Target. They sent some advertisement pamphlet to the girl's home, and then their father got very much angry that there are some baby-related stuff, and he really went to the store and say, "Hey, why do you send it?" He really scolded, and then the store says sorry, apology. And later when the father came, and then he realized that her daughter was pregnant, and then he went to say thank you to the store. So the way there are, I mean, so much data patterns are there. If you buy this stuff and buy this stuff, that means you are on that stage, right? And that things which we even don't understand, right, as a user, and even I mean, parents doesn't always have. So I think there are lots of companies who have that data. They really taking that step and next level, and they really using that as their marketing and advertisement platform, right? So that's the reason this is the very big issue with all the data privacy. And I think it's the same thing happened with you have heard the Facebook, right? The Facebook data, which was taken by Cambridge Analytica, right? So they did all this machine learning AI, and they can able to tell, right, that which user has, what is his political affiliation, and how this user's political affiliation can change. They have fully mathematical algorithm developed, and which nobody imagined at that time is possible, and and having that data. I mean, so in this next decade, the real value every company has is nothing but the data, actually. The real money is in the data. Whether you manufacture a garment, whether you manufacture the tools, right, or you manufacture any devices. So your data is very important, your customer data, your manufacturing process data, right? And your human capital data, employee data. So all that things are really very important, and to keep that secure is very, because you might not be empowered that data by yourself, but somebody, if they empower, it is a big loss, right? And it's the same thing happened with the, there was a data leak happened on the US government side, and after that, most of the US government employee has, I mean, there are lots of CIA-based employees, they has to relocate to the different place, because the moment the data got leaked, there is a huge implication that the hacker knows various aspects of that data. So data is very important in all this AI project, and the base of AI is all data. That's the reason the data science is more popular, and that's the reason the machine learning and deep learning is more popular. So that's about the AI. Now we'll go to more on to the robotics, right? So robotics is all about robots, right? It's the machine capable carrying out the complex series of actions automatically, and it mimics the human behavior and human action, what the Parimalji exactly says that sentence, right? So now with the AI, what's happening is, because of AI, the robotics has become now more popular, or it's going to the next stage, right? Earlier it was not there. Robotics was like you had a set of instruction and robot does, right? But it doesn't understand the environment. It doesn't understand what's next in front of us. Now with the AI, what's happening, all these abilities are really has improved, right? So nowadays the robots has a very precise action. They can really precisely control the speed of motor, or they can precisely move, right? And not only they move, they basically have an ability to understand the environmental factor, what's in front of that, whether it's a hazard, or whether it's a wall, or whether it's in front of person. So that it has that ability, right? It has a vision. Now the robot has a vision, so robot can understand what's in front of, what image is there, what object is there, and based on that it can do. The earlier it was not that possible, but with the last decade, with the machine learning, now the robot has the ability to really to know who is in front of that. It understands the voice, it understands the who is that person. So it's very powerful. The vision is now very powerful right now. The next is audio. Now there is a lots of development in AI on the audio one, right? So now you can convert the audio to text. The persons, you can identify the person who is talking just by the audio, and you can have audio search, right? And if you have seen, so there are lots of apps in the app store, right? Yeah, and you can basically have that apps open, and it can tell which song is currently going on and automatically detect it, right? So that's very much is possible. There are the lots of devices like Google Home, right? So, and it can understand that which person is giving the command, and it can personalize the answer based on that, right? It's very powerful on that. And you can really search the different audio right now, right, with that technology. So it's very important. So if this audio is specifically some event, or if some song, or if some so this lots of that ability is there. So foundation has really built up very strong with the AI on that. And now you can have a speak to the different languages and have more interactive ability also. So these key abilities which was not there earlier, now it added into the robotics, right? Now, whenever there is a change in the foundation technology happens, it is really revolutionized the whole era on that front, right? You have seen that whenever there was a change in the, let's say, there is a semiconductor technology came, right? It really revolutionized the next era, right? When there is a new communication technology came, right? It revolutionized the whole era of the it revolutionized the whole era on that front. So all these are robotics technology. The foundation technology is now becoming very stronger and stronger, right? Now there is a highly chance what are the things will come on the robotics. So let's go, what are the different robots are really coming on. So you have seen there are the autonomous vehicle, right? Like there is a self-driving car, right? Which is very popular in US and specifically in the Silicon Valley, right? There are all major companies, right? Basically, car manufacturing company. They're driving the self-driving car. The car which doesn't have a driver, the car will not have a wheels also, right? So it will automatically drive. So currently, there are many companies which, let's say, the Tesla is one of the pioneer company, but Ford, everybody is there on the radar. So these companies, right? So there is a level 3, level 4, level 5. There is a level of autonomy, right? So currently is all the cars which is very much advanced. It comes on the level 3. That's autopilot. That means the driver has to be present in the driver's seat, right? But the car can drive by themselves, but driver has to take a control whenever it needs, right? And I drove that car. I know it's an amazing experience when you drive that car, and it automatically change the lane. It automatically stop if there is a front car is stop, right? And automatically pick up the speed, right? So it has all that ability right now, but the driver has to present. With the level 4 and level 5, which will be coming in this decade, right? Level 4 means what? There will be no driver in driver's seat. There is only passenger, but there is the wheels and brakes and all that system, right? Which is a true autonomous, situation. So in level 4, it's only good for certain weather conditions, certain road condition, and level 5 is basically for all the different conditions. You can have autonomous car with no driver, no any steering, no any clutch. So it's fully gone. So it's as good as a robot. It's a robot which is driving you, right? And that's what it is coming very much in this next decade, right? So this is very, and once this come, robotic cars, so you imagine the way the transport industry will change, right? So when you want to go to office, the robotic car will come and take you to the office, right? And if you buy that car, you don't need to be that car to keep, let's say the car service, the Tesla cars, they basically try to be renting cars. So you can take the car and go to office and put the car in the Uber mode or the rent mode, and the car will drive and take the other passenger. And when you want to return the home, the car will come. So you really utilizing the hardware properly, right? And all that things, all that technology, all that camera and all that stuff renting, all that technology is there in the existing car right now, which I have seen that, right? It's not something, it's just few regulation which is governing, and I think that will cover up on that thing. So this is a very interesting stuff which is coming. I think that will really revolutionize the whole, the transport industry or the way how we commute to the different. And it will change the lots of aspects, whether there will not be drivers, so the driver job will be gone on that front. Yeah.
One of the research says that the American doctors will be very adversely affected because there will be least accidents.
That's right. And these cars have a ability, like they have 8 cameras, and the accident rate is very low. sensors are there, right?
Error of judgment will not be there.
Huh?
Error of judgment will not be there.
Right.
1 in billion.
Yeah, there is very less error ratio. So it will not hit at any time to any car. So you can, nowadays why most of the, let's say, car accidents happen because of the human mistake. I think there is a ratio 90 plus on that. So that all gone with the one. But that doesn't mean this is a fully secure. There are lots of instances where the software or programmer has to make a decision, right? So let's say there are some accident happening, how to choose the less worst scenario. I mean, there is no way to avoid the accident. So there are lots of things going on, and specifically in the level 5, like how to become autonomous, because there are n number of situations came, and this is really challenging because it will take a time to get adopted in the industry. Right now, it's very much if you drive in US, right, or you in a valley, if you drive once, within half an hour you can see at least one Tesla going on, right? It's fully electric car, and most of the people use the autopilot that car. And the challenge is that this technology is evolving, so it's not too perfect on the set, and there is a regulation is there which is driving, and there are lots of instances. I mean, they are seeing that the car has done the accident very few times compared to, and there is a huge advantage is that there is a one recently case happened to where near to my office is that one guy was driving Tesla and he was slept, and then there was police was chasing the car, and how to stop the car, right, which is in autopilot mode. So the policeman came, the car take a left turn, then another comes. So there has to literally 3 cars to come, one left, one right, one front, and then the car stop. So there are lots of such scenarios happen with this autonomous robot. So it's good, there are certain things good, but there is little cautious things, right? What you see with the data and AI, the same thing happens with the car.
Recently, the latest thing that has come is that these electric cars, there will be electric cars,
Right.
and there will be charging stations on the way.
Right.
They stop and they charge it in 20 seconds, and that doesn't work.
Right.
So I just saw a video.
Right.
So they will be charged in 20 seconds. So no electricity, no fuel, nothing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I heard, I mean, there are supercharger stations are there, but 20 seconds I haven't heard. So that is a new.
I've got a video I'll share with you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
That's a
they're
new.
not charging the car of this size, but a huge, full big bus. A big bus, they're charging in 20 seconds. Before that, they had technology where they would switch the batteries in 2.5 minutes. So there is a battery,
Uh-huh.
they are running, and as soon as the power goes down, they stop at the station, and the battery has been changed.
Right.
2.5 minutes.
Right.
Now they have come down to 20 seconds.
Wow.
So it just connects and it's charged.
Charge.
Wow.
Wow.
Then you go on.
That's amazing, because the charging is, whatever the current electric car, you need a whole night to charge with the normal charger, either supercharger like 20 minutes. But still, I mean to say, there are lots of technology coming up which you can have a charge
So in this
like
way,
this.
it will be, the transport would be totally free.
Right.
You don't need to buy a car, and the cars will be available wherever you want to just order and they will be there.
Right. Yeah, I see that. Like, there might not be it's very tough to get driving license after a few years, like probably my daughter will get it or not, right? So, I mean, that's, if the car become autonomous, then why you driver need it, and having a driving license and the insurance, it will be super expensive, right?
How many industries will be affected, we do not know.
Yeah, it's very much. Like, there will not be then parking lot, because the car can go anywhere and come back, right? So there are lots of things, the gas stations and all, it will be changing.
Even the 70% CEO of the world,
Uh,
they are not able to anticipate the future.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this is the role of the CEO.
right,
And if he can anticipate, then they can design.
right.
Because of this fast changing, I think it's very difficult to catch.
Very difficult to, so I think the point is that very difficult to predict the future. Yeah. And I was checking that on that front. What are the prediction people has done on the future, and everybody is wrong, right? And the reason is because it's a so complication that, let's say there was a movies and the videos on Discovery, which tells about how the people predicted 20 years back what will be technology. They still predicted there will be a big computer, there will be a floppy disk, right? But let's say the technology has evolved. So that is, now the data is, you don't have a drive and everything is automatic. And the reason is behind that, the, it, the whole thing works on the evolution base. Like what are the foundation technology changes, how they evolve, and that basically makes the evolution, right? And how the industry adaptation is also very key part. So it's very difficult to, let's say, to predict what happens onto the future. Let's say if you want to tell after 10 years what will be the music will be most famous, it's very difficult, right? So it's the same way the evolution, right? In the sense that the way it evolves, there are the different foundation technology changes, right? There is, let's say, quantum processing is coming up. So that will completely change the whole processing computing power itself, right? So it will be a huge increase on the one. So you never know what will be then the concept of device will have like a chip or not. I mean, it will be gone. It will be something else. So you never know. So let's move to the one like we have.
Very simple thing with this thing. In the coming future, from the day you pick up a child, when the day when he picks up a phone and starts interacting with the phone,
Right.
the artificial intelligence system will develop a digital footprint or artificial intelligence footprint of that person. The entire mapping will be done about his choices, what books, what things he had bought, which sites he had visited, which social platforms he were there, what are the friends, what are the interactions. So everything will be there. So this would all affect.
Yeah, it will.
Somebody who has all the information will have the power to influence your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. The digital life.
If you're a CEO and if somebody knows what you have been doing,
Right.
so that person can influence your.
I agree. I totally agree on that.
Sir, I request to give him some time so that we can.
Yeah, we will have
finish our
time after the Q&A. Yeah. So I will not go more then. I think so there is now lots of military robots are there. There is a company like Boston Dynamics. Must see, they have superb robot, right? Which is so nowadays this robot, you don't need a really cloud. They have so much computing and processing ability on the device itself, on the robot itself. For very less use cases, it connects to cloud. So this is very superb example like this Boston Dynamics. There is a surgical robot. There is a company like Institute Surgical, which is very near to my home, and they have this Da Vinci surgical system, which does the surgical, very precise surgical. It's very famous. And I think industrial robot, everybody knows. Animal robot, which is coming up with lots of stuff on that front. And
Sorry, what is the animal robot?
so there are the robots, means the robots are basically, the humanized robot is basically which looks like human, but there is animal robot, like there is a bird kind of robot which can goes wherever it wants. It takes the photography and videography, that kind of, I think we have seen in the movies, right? So I think different animals have different benefits the way they do, right? There are ant animals, the small robot which can go anywhere, like all the small portion. Yeah, I mean there are lots of, MIT is a very good university who does lots of research on this animal robots there. So we see how this will be now beneficial to the various different aspects. The citizen scientist is a very famous term nowadays, lots of people doing. The citizen scientists mean who are passionate citizens. They don't have professional or any government they may not have professional or government certifications or degree, but they are very passionate to do, and they are expert in other area. So they do lots of research nowadays, and it's very amazing that it's these citizen scientists are discovering new things, right? You probably heard that lots of new stars and their new planets are discovered by the citizen scientists. So what it's doing is, like the NASA, they're basically capturing the various images, right? And they're publishing on their site. And the citizen scientist group, they're basically taking that and working out what are the problems and solving that. So they're basically finding out various new planets and all the stuff. So it's very amazing that the majority of the research is done by the citizen scientists in astronomy field, right? In the same with the healthcare also same, that there are lots of researchers, specifically the computer engineer and programmer. They are finding the new patterns of the medicine and the diseases, the diagnostics, and all that things is done by who has no medical background, right? They are not doctors, right? They are basically engineers, but doing research on that. So with the AI, what happens is that this era has, this citizen scientist has get more power to do the things onto the different area, right? So lots of environmental studies and then the social studies are really driving the citizen scientists on that front. The students were like graduate or engineers or MBAs, right? Now, there is a huge opportunity for the students to be associated with the university research. The lots of university research are going on AI. Lots of algorithmic research, the statistical research is really driving from the universities, right, rather than the industry. It's, in US it's very much focus on the various research, right? So that's very much area where the student can learn these algorithms and make their careers, right? They also have lots of training data set. So AI needs lots of training data sets. So we have seen, right, when you start gather the information and start building the model, the first model you built is basically a training data set, right? So you basically taking care what are the different use case kind of data set that your model will work. So there is a large demand about gathering this training data sets. So lots of students and organizations, they're doing that work. And the startups, obviously, because this is the core foundation technology which is changing. So because of that, there are lots of new unsolved problems, right, which was not able to solve earlier, but with this new algorithmic or the model-based stuff, right? So the startup has a more opportunity to really take that data and solve that problem, right? So lots of new ideas, they're generating new employment, and they're really targeting what are the unsolved problems, right? So I think, let's say there was a traffic problem in the, it's pretty much can be solved by the AI stuff, right? And I met some of the guys who in here, they are really working on that front. So it's very good that, to say how you basically take the different public data set or data set and how you solve the unsolved problem, which was, you don't think that it is a solvable. So it's interesting, that one. And the last one is enterprise. The enterprise has a very big advantage because the enterprise really has the data. They have the processes, they have the customers' information. Now they have full-fledged business, right? And how, with the new technology, how that business can be more data-driven, how it can be more AI-driven, right? That completely gives the ability for enterprise to really to start a new venture or to enable a different kind of business along with their main business, right? Or they can really improve their production efficiency. And this is really like, you can understand
whether your product will be faulty or not. It's just by if you have that AI algorithm. And there are lots of industry who doing that on that front. And it will slowly come to the India also, but it's going on that front. The AI also helps to predictive maintenance. So it can predict when is the maintenance will come or when is the failure of that device will come. And this is really a key pain right now, because in manufacturing, anything fails, right? It's a really big issue. So now with the machine learning algorithms and this AI, more a data-driven approach, you can really predict what device will fail at what time, right? But the important is keeping that data. The reason is, the more you have a data, you can have your model very good. The most of the time people said, oh, it takes a long time to take a data, and what's the use of that? No, take a data, because you build the historical data, it will definitely later, it will utilize your scope, utilize your purpose. So that's all about that, and I'm keen that even to give some of the mentorship on some of the few folks who are very serious, want to build this their career and to drive their AI stuff, right? So once in 3 months, I can give a guidance. And Mr. Nair has just told me that he is really interested to form a really AI group here, which is a virtual group, so that all AI-minded people or the developers, they can club together, and there will be mentorship from me, and there are lots of experts here right now who can really mentor that group and really enhance. So AMA has a very big focus on the future technologies, right? They are really focusing on what are the future technologies and how Ahmedabad can grow more, how the Gujarat can grow more, right? And to that's their focus. So I'm also love to mentor on that, and this is my email address on that. If you want to connect me on that, you can connect me on that. With all, we can have.
Thank you. Thank you, Ravi. I think it was like moving into the universe and trying to, guess the moons and the stars and the galaxies, and then I think that's how he tried to demystify the whole AI world. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. And on behalf of all of us, I think that represents a token of memory for us.
Thank you.
We wish you all the best, and we do look forward to come you again. And AMA, during these next 2 years, we are focusing on the future technology. So as he rightly said, we'll be doing more on this. And all of you are welcome to join here. Please come again, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Thank you.